At the beginning of the story, we see a group of people traveling on a boat. Gong's daughter was also on this boat with him, and today was her birthday. Gong gives his daughter a walkie-talkie as a birthday gift. In the middle of their conversation, everyone starts spotting dolphins in the ocean. Everyone was watching them with absolute joy and amazement, but they had no idea that these dolphins weren't playing around. They were actually running away from a massive monster. Within just a few moments, that giant creature attacked the boat as well. The people hadn't even seen the monster yet, but the boat had already capsized and everyone fell into the water. When Gong regains consciousness, he finds himself in an unfamiliar place. Total devastation was all around him, and people were struggling for their lives. But Gong's heart completely skips a beat when he realizes his daughter is nowhere to be seen. He starts looking for her like crazy. Just then, his daughter's crying voice comes through his walkie-talkie. Hearing her voice, Gong realizes that they aren't the only ones alive in this game of death. Other people are trapped a short distance away too. Gong and the other survivors start gesturing to the people standing in the distance, calling them over to their side. Amidst all this chaos, Gong suddenly spots his daughter standing in the other crowd. He wants to quickly run over to his daughter, but a man stops him from going there because what that man could see was absolutely terrifying. In reality, something massive was slithering there. Before long, they all realize that the thing tracking them from behind is a giant snake. Seeing the giant monster, people try to run away toward the other group, but the snake doesn't give them even a single chance to escape. It swallows people whole in one bite and whips others into the air with its tail. Here, Gong just wants to somehow save his daughter from that snake, so without any fear, he steps forward to rescue her. But another man grabs him because he wants to save Gong's life. Gong's daughter was watching him, and in that exact moment, the snake swallows her too. After eating a bunch of people, the snake heads off deep into the jungle. Everyone left behind was absolutely terrified. They had lost so many of their loved ones. But right now, Gong doesn't care about anything else. He is just crying his eyes out. Meanwhile, Gong hears some noises coming from his daughter's walkie-talkie. These sounds meant that the people who went into the snake's belly were actually still alive. So, Gong decides to bring his daughter back from the jaws of death. A man named Mao joins him on this dangerous journey. Before long, a few more people agree to help them, and the group heads into the jungle. The people standing outside the jungle were calling them fools because they thought going inside was a straight-up suicide mission. But the people standing outside weren't safe either. Suddenly, a strange monster attacks them. The creature itself wasn't visible to anyone. Just its long, red tongue would shoot out and swallow people alive. Seeing this, everyone starts running away in fear. Meanwhile, in the darkest part of the jungle, the snake had reached its lair. As soon as it gets there, it regurgitates all the people it had swallowed and dumps them into the lair. After dropping them off, it leaves to hunt for more prey. Right here, we find out that along with Gong's daughter, several other people had survived safe and sound. The captain present there was looking for a way out, but escaping from there was impossible. To make matters worse, there were massive snake eggs kept in that place. The captain wants to touch and check the eggs, but Gong's daughter stops him from doing so because the egg could crack and another snake could hatch out of it. Now everyone was completely hopeless, seeing death right in front of them. Just then, a weird, foolish rich guy picks up a rock and smashes the egg. He thought that by breaking the egg early, the snake inside would die. But he puts everyone in danger along with himself because a baby snake comes crawling out of the egg. The moment they see the snake, everyone runs and hides behind a cave. That small snake was right behind them, hunting them down. Before it can attack them, it spots a woman who couldn't walk and was screaming for help, but nobody comes to help her. Leaving the others alone, the snake eats that woman, which saves the lives of the rest of the people. Meanwhile, Gong and his group were moving fast along the jungle path. They were tracking the snake's footprints stamped on the ground. Even after traveling for hours, they get no clue about the snake. Completely exhausted, they decide to stop at a spot. Just then, Gong's friend Mao swings an axe at a tree to clear a path. Surprisingly, as soon as he cuts the tree, a thick black liquid starts oozing out from the inside. Then, an old man lights a cigarette to ease his fatigue, but the lit matchstick slips from his hand and falls right into that black liquid. The next moment, a terrifying explosion happens. Everyone loses their minds seeing this, and they realize that the black liquid coming out of the tree catches fire, just like gunpowder. Meanwhile, Gong's condition starts getting really bad. He has a severe headache, feels dizzy, and feels like all his companions are laughing at him, and a massive snake is right behind him. Just then, he hears his daughter's voice telling him, "Daddy, you couldn't save me." Suddenly, the snake snake rushes over and traps him in its coils. Gong was trying hard to escape when someone suddenly splashes water on his face. Here we find out that none of this was actually happening to Gong. It was all the effect of the toxic smoke coming from the burning black liquid. As soon as he wakes up, Gong sees dangerous vines from the tree pulling people in and trying to kill them. This meant that it wasn't an ordinary tree, but a very deadly one. They somehow save their lives, except for one man whose body was pierced by the tree's sharp vines, causing him to die. People are shocked to see that the tree is now extending its vines toward the rest of them. To save themselves, everyone runs away from that tree. Meanwhile, in that cave of death where the rich guy had crushed the baby snake, things had gotten totally out of hand. The rich man had gone completely insane from the fear of death. He was fighting with the others like a lunatic and screaming that this was all their fault. Just then, a girl named Sushi builds up the courage to shut him up. She explains that death is looming over them, and if they keep fighting like dogs, that giant snake will chew them up one by one. They must stick together and fight no matter what. They had no idea that Gong and Mao were crossing the path of death to come and save them. Mao had used his brains to craft some lethal weapons that were enough to rip open the giant monster's chest. Meanwhile, one of Gong's companions goes near a jungle river to quench his thirst. But suddenly, a vicious fish shoots out of the water like an arrow and attacks him. This fish had massive dagger-like teeth in its jaws, and the scariest part was that it could fly in the air. The flying fish attacks him again, but the guy somehow catches it mid-air, throws it back into the river, and runs for his life. He runs back to warn his companions, but that flying wave of death was already right behind them. Seeing no way out, Gong and his companions decide to fight those monsters instead of running. Mao fights those vicious fish without caring about his own life so that the others can escape safely. In the process, a flying fish bites his hand terribly. Meanwhile, Gong realizes that these fish can only breathe inside this spreading mist and are moving along with it. To save their lives, they run to a part of the jungle where there is no mist. Their trick works and they escape the fish attack, but death wasn't done with them yet. Mao's eyes fall on the ground, where the footprints of a massive monster were stamped. They nervously look up at the tree. A strange animal was sitting there. One man is about to pick up a rock to hit it, but another stops him. Then suddenly, that same long red tongue shoots out from the dark and swallows the animal alive. The next moment, a huge monster leaps from the sky and lands right in front of them. It was a giant toad whose tongue they had seen before. Seeing that terrifying toad, the people are chilled to the bone and start running and screaming. But that monster was hot on their heels. It whips out its long tongue and grabs an old man running in the crowd. Even seeing death so close, the old man doesn't lose heart and tightly grabs a tree to save himself. Gong and the others also start pulling with all their might to save him, but compared to the monster's strength, humans were very weak. Just then, a man pulls out his knife and tries to chop off the toad's tongue. But as soon as the tongue is cut, acid squirts out of it, landing right on the man's face, badly burning his entire face. Meanwhile, Mao returns with his homemade sharp weapon. With all his might, he stabs that weapon into the toad's eye. With its eye popped, the toad goes crazy with pain and lets go of the old man. As the toad writhes in pain, everyone gets another chance to run away. People were running for their lives, but the toad's anger was through the roof. It takes a massive leap behind them to eat the humans. But before the toad can land on the ground, that giant snake appears out of nowhere and snaps up the toad right in its mouth. Shaking with fear, the humans watch this sight of how one big monster finished off another monster. But now, the snake spots the humans. People start running and the snake starts slithering after them. The old man and the guy with the burned face were running very slowly due to the pain, and the snake was just about to swallow them. But luckily, they slip into a part of the jungle where the trees were very close together. The snake's massive mouth gets badly stuck between the trees. To save them both, a man chucks a coconut at the snake to distract it. By doing this, he puts himself right in the jaws of death. The snake turns toward him, but the man quickly runs and hides behind some small bushes. The snake can't find him. Giving up, the snake turns back around to where the old man and the burned guy were. The old man managed to escape, but the guy had no idea the snake was back. As soon as he turns around, the snake's face is right in front of him. Seeing death, the boy starts crying and begs with folded hands, "Please spare me." But that monster has absolutely no mercy, and it chews the boy alive in a single bite. Meanwhile, to save themselves from the snake, the rest of the people jump into a river and hide underwater. Seeing the prey disappear, the snake leaves them alone and heads toward its cave. As soon as the people trapped inside the cave feel the ground vibrating, they know death is coming. They instantly play dead, so the snake thinks they are corpses and leaves them alone. In that same cave, the snake drops the corpse of one of Gong's companions. But when the monster spots its dead baby, its anger goes through the roof. The snake leaves in a rage, and the people try to use this opportunity to escape. In this chaos, the rest of the snake eggs also crack open. In a panic, the people run away, leaving Gong's daughter all alone in that hellhole. The little girl has no choice but to just sit there. But the little girl treats those newborn snakes like she's one of them rather than a human. Those vicious babies mistake her for their mother and leave her alone, heading out to hunt the other people. That selfish rich guy somehow saves his skin and escapes from there. He was so mean that he pushed the very people who saved his life into the jaws of death. Meanwhile, Gong and his companions wander through the jungle and reach a strange ancient building. Going inside, they realize it's not an ordinary place, but an old lab. A soldier's skeleton was lying on the floor, looking years old. Reading the books left there reveals that everything happened right in this lab. Humans used to perform weird experiments on animals here, and because of that acid and medication, these animals turned into such massive and vicious monsters. Gong was trying to call for help using the old machines there when that selfish rich guy shows up. Gong and the others ask him about the condition of the people trapped in the nest, but that jerk lies straight to their faces, saying, "Nobody survived there except me." Hearing this, the ground slips from beneath Gong's feet. Drowned in sorrow, they fall asleep right there. The next morning, they are woken up by the sound of a helicopter echoing in the sky. Everyone rushes outside, hoping for help. Gong was about to run out too when suddenly his daughter's voice echoes on his walkie-talkie. Tears well up in Gong's eyes. Meanwhile, the helicopter moves on without spotting them. Gong screams to his companions that his daughter and the others are still alive. But the rich guy plays a trick and says that Gong has gone mad from shock and no one is alive there. People believe the rich man's words, but just then, the girl's voice comes through crystal clear on the walkie-talkie. As soon as the truth comes out, the rich man flees from there. To teach him a lesson, the old man runs after him too. On the other hand, Gong and the rest head toward the nest where Gong's daughter and Sushi were. But there, countless vicious snakes had hatched after breaking the eggs. Meanwhile, the fleeing rich man spots the helicopter again. He manages to gesture and signal the helicopter down, but his luck was terrible. Before he can step inside, the snake tears through the jungle, pops out, and chews up the entire helicopter right out of the air. Amidst this horrifying scene, the old man catches the rich guy, but that cruel man kills the old man right there to save his own skin. Meanwhile, in that nest, countless baby snakes were moving forward to eat both the girls. But just then, the snake that hatched first stops all the others. It thought Gong's daughter was their mother. Amidst that suffocating tension, a familiar voice falls on Gong's daughter's ears, the voice of her father, Gong. Tracking down this deadly lair, Gong had finally reached his daughter. To save his daughter, Gong lowers a strong tree root from above. Just as he was pulling his daughter and Sushi up, the snake returns. Its anger was through the roof. Before the snake can attack them, Mao jumps down with his axe. He strikes the snake's eye with all his might. Writhing in pain, the snake backs off for a moment, and meanwhile, Gong safely pulls both girls up. Below, Mao was fighting for his life. The snake was just about to swallow him when another companion of Gong comes and strikes the snake's other eye with a weapon. Going completely blind, the snake begins to flail around, and taking his chance, Mao drops a heavy tree to trap the monster right there. The survivors were just catching their breath when the trapped snake regains consciousness down below. Meanwhile, that selfish rich guy, running in circles through the jungle, ends up right back at that deadly nest. Tripping over the corpse of the old man he had killed, he plummets straight into that terrifying nest, where the pack of baby snakes tears that cruel man apart and eats him alive. Meanwhile, Gong and the others were running to escape the snake, but Mao understood that running away wouldn't save them. He says, "We can't outrun this thing for long. We have to finish it right here." Just then, the snake catches up. Mao sends everyone ahead and takes on the giant monster himself with his axe. Sliding under the snake's belly, he rips its entire hide open. But it doesn't affect the monster at all. Instead, it moves forward to chew Mao up. His companion steps in to save Mao's life. Risking their lives, they both run back toward the jungle so the snake follows them and the others can get away safely. They lead the snake exactly to the spot where that highly flammable, gunpowder-like black liquid was oozing from the trees. But the snake was smart too. It realized the humans were setting a trap for it. Meanwhile, after sending his daughter to a safe place, Gong turns back to help Mao. Mao had dipped his wooden stick into that gunpowder liquid. Just then, Mao's companion dashes out of the jungle in a total panic and tells everyone to run. Gong realizes that something terrible has happened. That snake had snapped up Gong's daughter in its mouth once again. Seeing his child in the jaws of death, Gong goes completely berserk with rage. He charges at the monster completely empty-handed. The snake was just about to eat Gong too when Mao shows up with a burning torch. Seeing the fire, the snake gets scared and bolts back into the thick jungle. Mao doesn't let it slide. He chases after it. As soon as the snake reaches the gunpowder trees, Mao throws the burning torch there, triggering a massive explosion, and the snake catches fire alive. Enveloped in flames, the monster stumbles out of the jungle, writhing in pain, and drops dead. Gong rushes over to the dead snake like a madman. He pries open its heavy mouth, grabs his daughter's hand, and pulls her out, but there was no movement in the girl's body. Everyone thought she was dead. Crying, Gong tries everything to revive her, and after a few moments, the little girl opens her eyes. Seeing her alive, Gong and all his companions weep with joy. By beating this horrific game of death, they had finally survived. And with this happy note, the story comes to an end. Let me know how you liked this video in the comments.